Warning. The following video features strong opinions that you may not agree with and is not recommended for people with pre-existing conditions of closed-mindedness. Viewer discretion is advised.
I'm going to say something that not a lot of people are going to agree with, and some people may hate me for. This relationship works. Not only does it work, but it's one of the best on-screen beginnings to a relationship that I've seen in a while. Before you get your pitchforks, torches, and Bibles out, let me explain myself and my position in this matter. I think this is a great example of two well-written characters that develop a relationship naturally, which is sorely missing from gay on-screen relationships these days. Let's look at both characters, what drives them, what weakens them, and why they would be driven towards each other. Vi is introduced as a straightforward, strong leader. Problem with a thug? Punch him in the face. Problem with a friend? Punch him in the face. Problem with society? If you guys work things out diplomatically and work together for the common good of all citizens, you'd be incorrect. The correct answer is punch society in the face. Vi grows up having been given the responsibility and pressure of leading their little family of misfits. From the very beginning, we see what makes Vi, Vi. She lives to protect the people around her, to fight to give them a better life. We see this best in the quiet scene on the bridge with Vander. After growing up under the thumb of Topside, Vi is ready to punch back. She pleads with Vander, wanting a better life for Powder. A life where she doesn't feel like a lesser person. But Vander's quiet response hits her hard.
I know you want to hurt the Topsiders for what they've done to us. But who are you willing to lose? Milo? Clagger? Powder?
This changes Vi's thinking into being completely selfless. Now she doesn't really care what happens to herself in the process anymore, so long as the ones closest to her are safe. While this is an extremely altruistic and noble way of thinking, it's also kind of her downfall. When you combine it with her stubborn, headstrong nature and the straightforwardness of her plans to, punch the problem in the face, it tends to put the very people that she wants to protect directly in danger. Example, hard cut to watching your family die one by one and finding out that it was your sister that was responsible for killing them. Yeah. A lot of people have criticized Vi in this scene, but I'd be pretty unhinged as well. Not saying that I'm defending her or what she did was right, but yeah, I get it. She's horrified with herself and walks away so that she can calm down and not do serious harm to Powder, which would be the smart thing to do if Silco didn't appear. And then if she didn't get kidnapped to be protected in prison for the next decade or so. So we have a altruistic, protective, bleeding heart leader that is willing to put herself in front of others and blames herself for everything that befalls those around her and feels responsible for their pain. Remember that. Caitlyn is the stereotypical rich, sheltered girl that just wants to be her own individual. She doesn't really have an identity because her parents assigned it to her. She feels trapped, isolated, desperate. She disobeys the will of her parents and takes a job with the enforcers, trying to see the world and to do as much good in the world as she possibly can. Keep in mind, she's been sheltered her whole life and doesn't know the horrors that the enforcers inflict and the corruption. But that all doesn't really matter anyway because she becomes relegated to guard duties at the request of her controlling parents. Then, as fate would have it, a case drops into her lap. She takes her chance. Going against the sheriff, Jace, and her family, she breaks a certain hot badass altruist out of prison to pursue the case on her own. Think about it. If somebody breaks you out of prison, you're going to have an immediate feeling of gratefulness towards that person, especially when later on you find out that they did so against orders and against the law. Just saying. There is some general banter back and forth between the two, jabs and general animosity, which makes sense. They've been told their whole lives that the other side of the bridge is evil, completely devoid of humanity. But Caitlyn has shown that this isn't the case. This strange brute from the Undercity becomes her guide to the world, showing her everything that she's been missing, showing her the world that she so desperately wanted to experience. Now, I don't know if this is a psychological thing or not, but when you are sheltered growing up and you meet somebody that opens up the world to you and expands your narrow vision to what life could be and what life can offer, that in a way gives you freedom to explore your own identity. You begin to associate those positive experiences with that person, and you become pretty attached to that person. Even if that person runs ahead to punch the problem in the face and gets herself stabbed. Caitlyn saves Vi, again, and again there is banter between them, but this time much softer and warmer. Now, I'm no expert, but when somebody saves your life, you do tend to like them a little bit. Just a few scenes later, we see Caitlyn making a sacrifice to save Vi's life. Again, trading her only form of protection for medicine. Small detail maybe, but she puts Vi's life ahead of her own. Without her rifle in a hostile place, she is basically defenseless, and in many ways, she is putting herself in great danger to save Vi. There's also the adorable scene where Caitlyn tries to give herself up for Vi when they're kidnapped by Echo. Just, again, mirroring Vi's ideology about sacrificing yourself for others. And this scene is just cute, okay? At this point in the story, Vi has quite literally given Caitlyn the world. And Caitlyn in return has continuously saved her life. And in this conversation with Echo, you can literally see the moment that Vi gains an incredible amount of respect for her. They are no longer enemies. And because of the mutual physical attraction, not really friends either. And no, you cannot tell me that they were not instantly physically attracted to each other. My girl was staring straight at her double thick cupcakes from the beginning. Also, I just have to say this, my main love language is physical touch, and if anyone ever touches me as softly and gently as these two constantly do, I would instantly melt on the spot. Come on, you two, my hopeless romantic heart can only take so much. Sorry. The scenes that really solidify their relationship for me are on the bridge and in Caitlyn's room. On the bridge, they are saying what they believe is their last goodbye. They don't want to separate, but they think that they have to go their own separate ways in life at this point. Caitlyn then gives Vi the most melting of all melting hugs, and Vi snuggles into her, feeling safe. It's a quick moment, but one that speaks volumes because think about all of the trauma that Vi has had up until this point, and the fact that she's willing to trust an enforcer. You know, the people that killed her parents? Back at Caitlyn's house, they open up more to each other. Specifically, Vi opens up to Caitlyn. And for the first time since prison, Vi is truly vulnerable with someone. She fully trusts Caitlyn. And Caitlyn doesn't say a thing. She listens, empathizes with her, and comforts her with a touch. The breakup and shower scenes are believable for me as well. Because, well, the first really isn't even a breakup. They aren't dating yet, which I think is a point that a lot of people glaze over. Sure, they're attracted to each other. They have shared their moments, but they aren't officially dating yet. When Caitlyn pleads with Vi, it's almost as if she's asking for a relationship, as well as pleading for her to not leave her life. But what do we know about Vi? She's gonna go do things in a very straightforward way, and she wants to protect the people that she cares about. She is on a crash course to go and punch Silco in the face. She wants to protect the people that she holds dear to her, which now includes Caitlyn. So of course she's gonna leave. In her mind, she's doing what she can to protect her from her actions, because again, she blames herself for bringing misfortune upon everybody around her. And then there's the infamous shower scene, which has so many fun, small visual storytelling details, like the blood mixing in with the water, kind of representing that they aren't really oil and water, but more blood and water. Caitlyn biting her lip and using very masculine postures and body language. The whole wonderful reversal of time as if she's constantly reliving the moment over and over in her head, both forwards and backwards. It's great. This romance was set up from the moment that these two characters spoke to each other. And yes, it was fast, taking place in probably about a week's worth of time. It felt normal. Natural even. By comparison, Mel forcing herself onto Jace was way more jarring, and it extremely pulled me out of the moment. Which later, granted, was justified by finding out that she was trying to use Jace as a puppet and pulled a femme fatale move by using her body to control him, until she becomes too attracted to Jace and ends up falling for him and his ideals. But for whatever reason, everybody takes issue with Vi and Caitlyn. You could say, well, it's all the rednecks saying, "Get these dollar beans off my screen." But I think it boils down to something much more nuanced than that, and that is that people felt like it was rushed. Would I have liked to see more scenes of them interacting? Yes. But considering they had such a limited screen time to show these two together, as it wasn't really the main focus of the story, I feel like they did an excellent job with the time that they had to develop their given relationship. Sure, it was fast. Again, about a week's worth of time. But again, there's a couple points that I think a lot of people gloss over. A, they weren't dating. They were just attracted to each other and trying to see if they were compatible. B, when you go through a traumatic life-changing event with somebody, that kind of tends to make you fond of them. And C, they both cater to each other's desires and provide comfort to each other as they are overcoming traumas and are in a place of growth. Vi now has somebody that puts her life in front of her own. She shows her kindness and compassion and is willing to take risks for her. The first person really to do any of this since Vander. Caitlyn now has somebody that values her as an individual. Somebody that has shown her the world and its experiences. Somebody that has a good heart and looks after other people. It also doesn't hurt that both of them are extremely hot and were attracted to each other from the beginning. What? Why are you booing me? I'm right. Just look at that smirk on Vi as she's walking away from Caitlyn, flirting with the girl in the brothel. You can almost hear the, "So you're saying there's a chance." Look, maybe I'm just a hopeless romantic, but seeing the way that they look at each other makes my heart melt. And I just can't understand people that say this was forced. Look at them! Caitlyn and Vi work because we see them from the start as opposites, oil and water. But the common thread between them is the feeling of isolation. Even though they've been brought up believing in the lie that they were fed their entire lives, the other side of the bridge being full of people completely devoid of all humanity, they begin to see that humanity in each other. Caitlyn sees in Vi the desire to protect others, her good heart, the quality that Vi thought she had hardened and lost in prison. Vi sees in Caitlyn a worldview of people united together working towards a common goal, acting selflessly to aid one another. She sees her kindness. Their interactions together feel natural, and their progression from assigned enemies to friends to partners to potentially partners feels, well, real. These are two well-written, strong characters first and foremost. They have goals, motives, weaknesses, strengths, motivations, and their relationship is just one facet of their characterization. In my opinion, Riot managed to avoid the stereotypical over-sexualized token gay couple that so often gets thrown into shows these days. Honestly, it's a breath of fresh air, and undeserving of the hatred and backlash it has received. But what do I know? I'm just a random cisgendered white male on the internet that likes good writing.